So January 21st, 2025 was a big day for freedom. President Donald Trump actually lived up to one of his promises and gave Ross Ulbricht, the creator of Silk Road, a full pardon. It's finally brought an end to Ross's long time in prison and started a fresh chapter in his life. Who knows? Maybe we'll get Silk Road 2.0, but with the token. Just kidding. But who is Ross Ulbricht? Why is this a big deal? And why did his work cause so much debate? And what will happen to that 170,000 Bitcoin the US stole from Ross? Let's take a look at the full story and see what could happen next. Ross Ulbricht was born in Austin, Texas. He was a pretty smart guy who studied physics at the University of Texas at Dallas. Ross believed strongly in freedom and thought people should be able to trade goods without the government getting in the way. In February of 2011, he made his dream come true by starting Silk Road, which is an online marketplace. Silk Road wasn't just a regular website. It was a place where people could buy and sell things using Bitcoin. It was one of the first digital free markets to ever exist. Bitcoin allowed users to trade anonymously, making Silk Road a unique and private platform. People from all over the world started using it, and it quickly grew into something huge. Almost 1 million people used it to trade items with sales worth hundreds of millions of dollars. It showed how technology like Bitcoin could give people more control over their money and privacy. But not everyone liked this. Governments and police certainly didn't like the idea of people trading without their approval, especially when some items being sold were illegal. Some people said Silk Road was just a platform for bad things, but others believed it showed how people could have more freedom in trading. It also started big discussions about how governments control online activities and money. So Ross Ulbricht managed Silk Road under the fake name Dread Pirate Roberts. He believed in creating a space where people could make their own choices. Ross wasn't in it to get rich. He wanted to build a better world through freedom tech. But many stories about him in the news focused only on the negative, which isn't surprising. They're completely ignoring his core ideas about freedom and tech. In 2011, a website called Gawker wrote about Silk Road. Now, this caught the attention of the government and made Ross the target in their sights. Over the next 2 years, police worked hard to track down who was behind the site. But in October 2013, Ross was arrested in a library in San Francisco. The police said he was the person running Silk Road and labeled him a criminal mastermind. There were 3 arresting officers. 2 pretended to have an argument near him to distract him, and the 3rd then put a USB stick into his laptop to copy some of the most important files over into their possession. This arrest started a big legal battle. It made many people question whether Ross's punishment was fair and if the government was being too harsh. In 2015, Ross went to trial. Many people felt the trial wasn't fair. Some evidence was unclear, and Ross's intentions were misunderstood. In the end, Ross was found guilty of several crimes and ultimately sentenced to life in prison without a chance of getting out, without parole. Many thought this punishment was way too extreme, and some of the officers involved were found to be lying to steal some of the Bitcoin, which is where some of the hitman allegations that were put on Ross become a bit blurry. He ended up being sentenced to life in prison, and Ross's case became a symbol for people who believed in justice and freedom. It shows how much power the government has and made people think about how it's being abused. Ross's sentence led to a worldwide movement to free him. His family and supporters worked hard to show that his punishment wasn't fair. The Free Ross campaign got millions of signatures and support from many famous people. This movement wasn't just about Ross. It was about fighting for freedom against the unfair treatment by the government, which we see all across the world today. After years of hard work by his supporters, Ross's story took a hopeful turn. On January 21st, 2025, President Donald Trump gave Ross a full pardon after 11 years in prison. Ross is free. This is a big win for Ross, his family, and everyone who believes in the power of second chances. Now it's given a green light to freedom tech developers to bring freedom back to the people. But there is still one major thing that's currently unanswered with the situation, and that's what will happen to the 173,991 Bitcoin that the Department of Justice seized from Ross back when they arrested him. At the time, it was worth $34 million, but today, that is worth over $18 billion. Will they give it back, or will that be the start of the strategic Bitcoin reserve? Who knows? But if Ross has been pardoned, it should be given back to him, obviously. And I don't think we've seen the last of this issue yet. Maybe it will end up as one of the biggest legal battles in history. Also, maybe that's why Donald Trump pardoned him, so he could use that as their Bitcoin reserve fund. Let the conspiracies begin. But Ross Ulbricht's story is about never giving up. It's a reminder that standing up for freedom and innovation can make a difference, even when things seem like they're not going the right way. Now that Ross is free, his story inspires us to think about how we can build a future where everyone has the freedom to choose. What do you think will happen to Ross's seized Bitcoin? That's a question that we all need an answer to.